Hi, I'm Johan. This is Mikael.
Yes.
This is BB8 making noises.
Yes, he is.
And today we will present the highlights from year 2015. OS deployment happenings, product releases, and some general, weird stuff.
Weird stuff. It always happens to us. I have no idea why, but weird stuff keeps on happening.
It's like a magnet. It just happens.
The weird magnets. So we started in January, which is the first month, and in January, Intel released or presented the NUC.
Yeah, the NUC devices, the 5th generation came, yes. And actually this was the first year I've actually seen them release 2 generations in just 1 year. So that did the 5th one, which was the Broadwell chipset in January, and then they did the cool new Skylake thing in last month, November.
I do have friends at Intel, which is very nice to have because that means you can test and borrow things from time to time. So I do have basically every generation of them, and the last one, it's pretty fast. It's fast, it's very reliable.
Actually, I know a bunch of people, including us, using that as a lab server, because you can put in a 2 terabyte SSD, you can add deduplication to it, you can have 32 gigs of RAM in a box like, that big, and
they are wife approved.
Meaning small, silent, they look kind of designed.
Yeah, so
that's nice.
It's like bringing something really cool back home, and you sneak under the wife radar. They don't notice. It's not a technical thing. It's like a device. What you also can do is what I did a couple of years ago, and that is to build a yellow Pelican portable data center, which we still use for demo and for.
We actually happen to have one here. So
yeah, I know.
This is how it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, actually.
And what else happened? Well, there was a pretty stable release of Windows 10, the 9926 build, which was in fact the first build I put into production. And I had a machine, been running it for about 2 years. I had I had 329 apps on it, and I tried to do the in-place upgrade, and it actually worked. And I have proof.
Yes.
Because I did a video recording of it. So here it is, the upgrade. This is my production machine, currently running Windows 8.1 Enterprise Edition. And in this demo, I will demonstrate the entire upgrade experience to Windows 10 for you. And don't worry, due to the magic of video editing, the process is quite quick. But before we start, let's take a quick look at what I have here, starting with my application list. As you can see, I have quite a few apps installed, 329 to be exact. Some developer tools, encoding tools, creativity tools, rendering tools, MDT, and some other stuff. Shorthand, a bunch of applications. I have also downloaded Windows 10 Enterprise 64-bit build 9926, the ISO to the ISO folder. Double-click to mount it, open a PowerShell prompt, run the setup. Login time. Check the application list. Okay, 2 applications less than before the upgrade. We'll have to investigate that later. All right. Then, of course, there was a new version or new release of the ADK, and with the new release of ADK, Microsoft added in, provisioning packages.
Yeah, they had all the usual tools that we always had, but they did add the ICD.
Or as it was called back then, Windows ICD or Wicked.
Which was very appropriate because that version of ICD wasn't really that great. And I know that you and I had a long conversation. Is this going to be a hit or it's going to be a flop? And at that time we said, there's no way this is going to work. We also actually thought that the in-place upgrade shouldn't work, and turns out that the darn thing actually do work. But ICD at that time, I was like, that's never going to hit. It's never going to be working. Currently, we're running 586 of that version of in the new ADK, and it's starting to picking up. I think it will be a valid deployment solution. Maybe next generation.
Once they get the
the
integration with the real solutions like MDT and ConfigMgr, I think it will take off, but let's see.
Yeah, missing some script capabilities, but for right now, the version we have currently, it works for, I have this Surface Pro 4. I don't want to re-imaging because it's a clean OS. I just want to join the domain, change the operating system SKU, and I'm done.
Yeah, apply some Wi-Fi profiles or whatever.
And that actually works, so it's kind of nice. You have a video on that, right?
Oh, I do. From back in the days.
Yes, let's check that. Oh, it's the first version of it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's check out this version. This is going to be funny.
In the upcoming demo, I will show you 4 things. First, how to use the UI to create a provisioning package. Then, I will do the same thing but using the command line version of the UI. And I will give you some tips and tricks on how you can customize the environment when using the command line version. And finally, I take the package and I deploy it to another machine. Over to my demo environment. This is a machine with Windows 10 build 9926, and I have installed Windows 10 80K on this one. If I go to the Start menu, type in ICD, I can select the tool. I'm going to start a new project, call it Change Edition, and I will store it in the default location. And click Next. Next again, Provisioning Package. When creating a new package, what you select here will affect what settings that are available to do on the following pages. But for now, the default selection is fine. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a provisioning package that will change edition from Windows Professional to Windows Enterprise. If I go over here, I have another virtual machine. And if I open System Properties, you can see this is Windows 10 Professional. This is the one we're going to change to Enterprise. I go back to PC number 9, where I have ICD installed. I will expand Settings. I will expand Windows Licensing, and I will go to Upgrade Edition Product Key. This is where I will type in the product key for the Enterprise Edition. That key is stored on the Enterprise Media. If I open Explorer, go to my D drive, where I have the media, Sources, pid.txt, I will copy and paste the key. Paste it in and save it. Now I'm ready to build the package. Configure the owner, next, store it, and build. Package is created. If I open Explorer, go to my Documents, Windows Imaging, Change Edition, and this is my package. The cool thing about this file, it's ending on ppkg, but this is really just a WIM file. So I can use either ImageX or DISM to mount it, or in this case I happen to have 7-zip installed. I can just right click and say, hey, 7-zip, open archive, and I can review the content of that WIM file. For example, here in Common Settings, number 1, this is where you find the answer file with the settings I had. But this is just one way to create a package. I told you there is a command line version as well. If I close this one and open up an Imaging Deployment Tools command prompt and type in ICD ? I will get absolutely nothing. The reason is the exe file is not in the path, even though I did open the Imaging Deployment Tools command prompt. If I open Explorer, go to my C drive, Program Files, Windows Kits, 10, Assessment and Deployment. This is where the Configuration Designer is, and in the 32-bit folder, you have the ICD.exe file. If I go to that folder, copy the address, and navigate to it, I can launch the same command again. Now I find it. But I don't want to have to do this every time I launch the tool. So what you can do is that you can change the path variable for this command prompt to also include the folder where ICD is. If I go back a few levels and do a listing, go to Deployment Tools and look there is a batch file. This is the batch file that normally sets the path to the other tools in the Windows 10 ADK. I can open that one, and I can add my own path to it. I go down here, take a new line, set ICD root equals % kits root %, and then I paste in the path here. Note that I didn't specify an extra backslash here, and that's because the kits root variable already have one. Let me show you. You can see it's ending with a trailing backslash here. That's why I don't have one in here. Then I simply append this, save the file, exit, open it again. This time, with the path set, I should be able to launch the command line tool as is. To create a new package using the command line version with the exact same settings as I had before, I need to have a few things first. If I go to my demo folder, I need to have a customization file. This is an XML file that holds the settings I want to have in my package. The same settings as I configured in the UI. I also need to have what is called a store file. And these files are the same that I selected in the UI when I selected the capabilities for my provisioning package. The default is this one right here. Other than that, I'm ready. I minimize this, ICD, build provisioning package, customization XML, colon, and the path, package path, colon, a folder to store it, and a name. And the store file. And I'm done. I have a package in that location with the setting. I will copy it over to a server. Copy. Paste it. Go to my other machine. Again, this is still running Windows 10 Professional. Go to the server and run the package. Allow it to install, and now I just need to wait. What will happen is that after a short while, the machine will automatically reboot. Without any questions, it just reboots, and it will apply the configuration. Here we go, restarting, adding features. Restarting one more time, and I can log in. If I go to System, you can see this is now Enterprise instead of Professional, and I also get the text in the right hand corner saying this is an Enterprise machine. This was a demo about creating a package and deploy it.
So, in February...
Which comes after January, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Short month, only like 28 days or something like that.
Still body cold?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I hate
Freezing
that.
cold.
Freezing cold. And we did actually have winter that time.
It was winter,
yeah.
Real winter.
We did a lot of things. One of the things that you did was you did a blog post about PowerShell.
Oh yeah, the how to enable the hardcore mode of PowerShell, which basically if you type something wrong, the computer shuts down. So type everything right and your computer works. A single typo, it shuts down.
Yeah,
no saving, no nothing.
No, so eventually you will actually learn PowerShell.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt really bad. And if you want to extend it, you can just add the fact that you turn off the entire environment at the same time. Don't do that in production. But other people in that case will help you to type correctly in a better way.
So if you do want to enable the mode, this is how you do it. This is on this blog post.
I never did that. I just like the red color, but I also saw a really great blog post about if you don't like the red color, you can actually change that to be screen instead. So even if you actually type it incorrectly, and
it looks better.
Yeah, that works for me.
Another interesting thing in February was the Lenovo Superfish, OEM crapware, basically breaking security in machines in a not very nice way at all.
No, and we've seen that for other vendors at other times. So question.
We won't mention any names, of course, but Sony, Dell recently. Still happens.
So here's a good question for you. Do you think that will happen again?
Very likely.
Yeah.
So F12 is a good, thing
yeah,
to press every once in a while.
Yeah, reload the operating system by wiping the entire hard drive is a good choice in many cases. And about wiping the hard drive, that's what we do during the Geek Week class. And we actually did a Geek Week class in February.
We were in Seattle at Building 40 for the entire week. And as usual with these classes, nothing is ready when we get there. We get empty machines. Of course, they have to be redeployed. So that's our idea of Sunday fun before the week starts.
Yeah, what do you do on a Sunday? We start at lunch usually, and go in, build a deployment solution, stage the devices, deploy the labs. And I also know that you have a really great blog post on how to compress things to insanity.
Yeah, the beyond zip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's bypassing zip. It's like you're bending light or something like that. It's like it's nothing. It's like you can email an entire lab environment. It's insane, but it's really good.
Big attachment still, but it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. You know that I use a GPS when I drive around. The only location I don't use a GPS anymore is actually in Seattle when we're in Redmond, because we stay in the Redmond town center, and we need to go up to Building 40, and that's basically the only drive we do. So nowadays, when you go to the airport, they go like, "Do you want to rent a GPS?" They go like, "No,
no need, no." But anyway, back to the Beyond Zip one. Here's the blog post that tells you how to create really small archives of massive amount of files.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. That was February, right?
That was February.
So next month.
Yes.
So in March,
which is number 3 in
very
number
good.
ones.
Yeah,
yes,
very good, Michael.
Yes, thank you.
We bought some fancy devices, both of us, unknowing of each other.
Exactly. In this case, it was like, "Oh, I need to get one of those," and you also had the same idea.
Yeah. The Raspberry Pi. We bought a bunch of them, and that's like a $35 PC. But it was supposed to be able to run Windows 10, we thought at that time. But it turns out that the release of that image came like 3 weeks after.
Yes, but we had them prepared because they were on my desk, ready build, ready made. I was like, I'm just waiting for an operating system. And someone says, well, you can run Linux on them. I know, that's not the idea. I want to run Windows on them.
Yeah. So eventually, that image came and we deployed it, and life was good. And I actually know that you have a blog post on how to set one of these devices up.
Oh yeah.
With Windows 10.
Yes, I do.
So,
and they are really cool. And one of the cool thing about it is that I really thought it was Windows. Because everybody's, it's Windows 10. But when you pop it up and you start looking inside it, well, number one is ARM-based, right? And number two, it's actually Windows Mobile.
There is no start menu, anything like that. It's just
It's like a cell phone without
phone.
Without the phone, but the capability of doing things. What it does have PowerShell. So, which makes me wonder, if I buy a Windows 10 phone, does it have PowerShell? Because if it does, I really would like to play with it. I actually think it has. I'm not sure. I have no idea, but I really hope it has.
To be researched.
Yes. So we did that, and we have some pictures on that, and I have the blog post on that. So here's the blog post, and here's the pictures. And what we also did, at least I did.
Well, you were building data centers.
Yes.
In the US, a bunch of them.
I did. At this time, I was building for a Swedish organization. Well, it's an international company.
Known for CPUs, right?
Yeah, they make CPUs.
Begins with an I.
And it's not AMD. It's the other ones. Yeah, and the reason why we built it is because they want to have the ability to provide cloud-based services for developers playing with IoT devices. So it's actually a real fabric with a real cloud and private cloud and everything. And it was funny to build, because one of the things that we didn't really need to argue with is that we want to have the best CPUs and we need a lot of memory. So everything is running on CPUs that doesn't really exist.
Did you ever publish that paper anywhere?
Yes, the paper is actually published. It's on
this link, right?
Yeah.
We can show.
We can post it. It's a PDF document. You can read about it, and this is how we built it. It's really cool, actually. So yes, that's what we did during March.
All right.
You know, one of the funniest thing that happens, at least it has happened for many years, is April the 1st. You know, April Fool's Day.
We both were renewed as MVPs.
Yes.
April 1st
as a joke that we repeated the last 10 years. I actually have a picture of my 10-year ring or whatever it's called. That was kind of cool, and we always have this, you know, the day before you go like, am I going to be renewed or not? And did you get an email? And no, I didn't. Anybody else got an email? And then you can hear your first friends getting the email. So you go, yeah, so it's starting, and yes, here's my email. So that happens
so
every
far.
year.
Yes, so MVP for another year, and assuming we continue to do good things, we will get renewed, and if we don't, well, we'll get fired.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You did an online and Configuration Manager 2012.
Oh, with that Danish guy,
yes,
Kent.
yes,
We did a live summit. We actually rented a big-ass studio in Stockholm and did a live event. That was pretty cool.
It is. Kent is really good at Configuration Manager. Besides being really good at Configuration Manager, can you agree on this? He's the most non-Danish guy that we know of.
And he loves football too.
Yes.
He's pretty intense about football. The round version.
Oh, that's why we have this site at ViaMonstra.
Liverpool, yeah.
Yes.
It's Kent's fault.
Okay, so he's the, okay.
Yeah, he's a diehard fan.
Yeah, we need to talk to him about that.
Anyway, I have some clips from that event. So this is from one of the movie theaters that we were able to use. We had some streaming cameras out in the audience, and yeah.
Let's look at it.
This was fun, yeah. All right, I think we are live. Good morning, welcome. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule, joining us here today on the ConfigMgr Summit 2015, a day filled with tips and tricks, best practices around using System Center Configuration Manager as your management platform. It's feels a bit weird to be in Stockholm speaking English. Though I live in Halmstad, so maybe I should, but I'm not sure. But we have Kent with us today as well. He's joining us in from all the way from Switzerland, right? Yeah, last night.
Yeah, I had a touchdown in Copenhagen last night, but or yesterday morning, I believe it was. But yeah, great to be here, and I will be doing my session in English as well.
Yes. So, as you probably know, this is both a live event here in Stockholm in the movie theater of Circle, and we also do a live stream for the very first time. So far it looks good. You can also see these robotic cameras being remotely controlled by Niklas up there. He's from Black Molly, a company here in Stockholm, helping us with the stream and also all the recording and capturing and all the gear that we brought with us here today to get this event available all over the world, actually. So we have people from all over joining in through the stream to see this as well. So, exciting. And what could possibly go wrong in a live demo?
Nothing at all.
Nothing, no.
Since we're just playing around with production environments, so there is nothing to worry about.
It's your production environment.
My production environment.
Yeah.
So the first session here is basically all about what you have to go home and do tomorrow morning.
Or late tonight.
Or later tonight, even better later tonight. Johan and I, we have been doing a lot of site reviews, going into customers, figuring out what's wrong in terms of performance, what's wrong in terms of I'm not getting my updates applied on my servers, and so on and so forth. So we have put in all our best practices into this one here. And I'll start by showing you a little slide that I have shown a few times before, but it is still super important. A lot of config manager administrators are feeling exactly like this guy up here. A little frustrated. You're all by yourself. You might be managing config manager in the morning and Exchange and SharePoint in the afternoon, finding it really difficult to keep up. And you go wonder why did I make this so complex? I mean, why did I install multiple sites? I guess that most of you in here do not need to have multiple sites. If you do have multiple sites, we have done quite a few site migrations. So migrating from 2 primary sites or 3 primary sites into a single primary site. The built-in engines that we have, the migration wizard, can actually assist us doing that. SQL on a cluster is something I see typically when you had an external company moving in and implementing all of System Center, like wall to wall for you. And the thing is, installing SQL and the database on SCCM is far from the same as installing Ops Manager and Orchestrator and Service Manager. So, I mean, take my advice, don't install it on a cluster. It might work, or it will actually work because it's supported, but it's just going to give you a massive headache down the road. Another very, very big thing that I'm seeing is that all of you are very experienced, highly experienced CMO7 administrators. So you try to kind of mirror what you had in CMO7. That's like mistake number 1, in my opinion, when migrating. We're not going to talk about migrating in here, but migrating often, for me, is only a question of migrating packages, and that's it.
And after April, we have May. Happens to be the month I'm actually, celebrating my birthday on.
Okay, and May is the summer kind of. It's getting warmer, right?
Depends on where you live, but yes.
Yes, normally.
It's pretty good.
There's a bunch of things that happens at that time.
This one is making noises. Can you make it stop?
No, he's very persistent in making noises. He can't really be talked out of it.
Anyway,
we did Ignite.
Oh yeah, Microsoft's big-ass conference too.
Yes.
20-some thousand people attending for a week. We had a great fun.
Didn't we stay at the Hard Rock Hotel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I remember there was guitars all over the place.
You can actually, when you checked in, you can also get a guitar to bring to your room with your headphone and a small mini amplifier.
Exactly, because when you check in at Scandic, which is the hotel here in Sweden,
you don't get a guitar. No.
They ask you, would you like to have the newspaper?
Yeah.
When you're at Hard Rock, they say, would you like to have an electric guitar?
Yes.
There's a difference here, I think.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. So we did that, and we do have some pictures, and we also have
a spoof. A spoof of a movie that we actually did in one of the sessions. We got one of the smaller rooms.
No, it wasn't small.
It was a big room. 4,000 people could fit in it. We only had like 1,700, so it was just a small, friendly group of people gathering for a chat. Really.
I do remember that.
But it's recorded, so we have it here. All right. Good morning. Thank you for taking your time this early morning, joining us on a Windows 10 deployment session, deep dive, expert level. It'll be a fun 75 minutes of just live demos combined with a few set of slides. My name is Johan. I work for a small consulting company back in Sweden, Knowledge Factory. This is Mikael Nystrom, works for another consulting company, actually a bitter competitor, Trusec, but of course, we happen to do a lot of these events together, so we stay friends. Almost friends.
Yeah.
If you have any questions throughout the session, we are a bunch of people in here. So what we will do directly after the session, we will quickly, rig our gear down, and we'll be outside, and we will have the Q&A there. So you can ask. We will be there as long as you have questions, put it that way. And please follow us on Twitter. And not only follow us, check the people that we follow. Because we try to follow the Uber gurus in OSD, in ConfigMgr, in Windows 10 deployment, geeks like Mike over here, like Jason over there, and Niehaus, and all these guys that really knows a lot about deployment. So it allows you to very quickly, every single day, get a good grasp of what's going on in the MDT and the ConfigMgr space. But with that, we have a word from our sponsor. All right, let's go. Then we have the first release of a supported version of ConfigMgr to deploy Windows 10 with. The ConfigMgr 2012 R2 SP1 release, which was actually named Service Pack 2.
And it did work. I mean, really, it did.
Deploy Windows 10, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Except for one, tiny thing.
Yeah, you could do it on virtual machines, no issues whatsoever. And you can do it on really old machines. That also worked.
They kind of forgot about testing drivers. And I don't know about you, but if I'm responsible for developing a deployment solution to deploy Windows 10...
Importing drivers is kind of crucial.
Shouldn't that be on the checklist somewhere, test drivers?
And that's the only thing they didn't. It's impossible to import drivers.
Windows 10 drivers.
Windows 10. You could import the Windows, the old 8.1,
yeah.
But not Windows 10 drivers. They fixed that later on, however.
And that release was also a perfect example for not allowing marketing to name releases.
The SP1, SP2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
That was interesting. Actually, something else happened in May. I picked up my new car.
Oh, the red one.
Yes, the
nice
red
one.
The red. It was really cool.
It was a Fiat, wasn't it?
Not really. Something else. We do have a picture of it somewhere. No, it's a Camaro, 2015, red, really cool. And I picked it up and drove it home, and then I left the country.
For a while.
Yes.
Then we have the month of June, which...
Number 6, right?
Yes. After 5, yeah, works.
I'm checking.
We did the, once again, that Kent person. We did the ConfigMgr event one more time, this time in the DreamHack/Monster Studios, actually. We did a live stream starting at 5 p.m. Swedish time and ended up, very late, close to midnight. But I actually have some clips for it, so here they are. Hi and welcome. Thank you for taking your time joining us here today. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is in the world that you are. Thanks. It's been a pleasure being in this nice TV studio doing a live event about ConfigMgr vNext and of course some tips and tricks on the current platform, ConfigMgr 2012 R2 Service Pack 1.
The longest name in the world.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why we need to have 7 hours in this session here, so we can...
Had it been an SMS, then it would have been done in 2 hours, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we have a splendid agenda for you today. It's 5 hours, 5 sessions, and we will have breaks in between. So Ken, can you please? Awesome. And I won't read it to you because you have seen it on the website and in the links, but we will try to make clear announcements when the break starts and when the breaks end. So life should be good there. Next slide, please, Mr. Kent.
Will do.
So my name is Johan. This is...
My name is Kent, and I'm visiting the beautiful city of Stockholm. I am originally from Copenhagen.
Yeah, we are in the DreamHack Monster Energy studio today. So even though it's late afternoon for us, it's 5 p.m. Swedish time, and we have people joining in from United States, from Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, Canada, Netherlands, UK, Iceland, and Norway, United Kingdom, Austria, and Australia, and Denmark. That's pretty cool. So we absolutely love questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we might also have some questions for you guys tonight.
We might, yeah. So the deal is, if you guys have questions, you ask them in the chat window on the Play channel that you provided you with. But if we have questions for you, we are hoping that you will be so kind and answering them on Twitter using our aliases so that we can spread some hype around this this event. And what you know, it could be that, you know, good questions
Might get good
could
gifts.
be rewarded. We will send one of these each for the best 2 questions for tonight.
Absolutely.
So keep those questions coming in throughout the event, and life should be good.
And about the Twitter feed, we're not super ambitious, but we want to be the beeper tonight.
Yeah, we would like this event to be trending. If
So-
we can just get another 10 million followers, we should be...
That would be nice.
Yeah, we should be good.
We're just like 9,000,000.999 short, but we will get there.
Yeah. Anyway, this event is recorded, and you will get at least 1 month of access to the recordings as well. If you'd like to review the demos one more time, or if you need to run away today for some reason and do something else. So no worries there. You use the same link, the same access code, the same everything. The only thing you would miss, well, of course, the live Q&A, because that's kind of hard to do in a recording.
You can call us.
I can give them your phone number, your personal home private number.
Yeah,
So
please.
Kent just promised to provide you with 24-hour support 7 days a week, all year round, including Christmas.
That's the kind of guy I am. So why not?
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
All right, next slide, mister. What do you have in stock for us today?
So what we will be doing in the beginning here is we're going to look at the introduction. That's what we're doing right now. And then the what's new. So that will be all about the new stuff that we have coming up in Service Pack 1 or Service Pack 2 and Next technical preview. And also we will look into some of the stuff that is not yet in this technical preview here.
Upcoming stuff, even.
Upcoming stuff.
Super secret stuff.
Not super secret stuff, because this is being recorded and we have signed an NDA, but stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah, okay then.
So what we have been doing here is we have been looking into our own top 10 list, and there's been a good discussion and debating about what is actually number 1 and what is number 8 and what is number 7. So we have done the list. We'll go through the entire list here in the beginning, and we will mix it with some nice demos just to show you why we think this should be on the top 10 list. So let's get started.
Yes, sir.
So news in Configuration Manager SP2 and SP1, the top 10 countdown to why you should actually be doing the upgrade. And we will start by saying that all of the features also found in VNext by now. So we could do the demos in VNext, or we could do them in SP1 here during the first
session. And in
session.
fact, we will actually jump back and forth a little bit between Service Pack 1 and ConfigMgr VNext when we do these demos. So
yeah, and to those of you who have not seen the technical preview yet or haven't seen SP1 yet, you might find it a tad difficult to figure out if we are in Service Pack 1 or we are in VNext, because they kind of look the same. Don't expect to see the same change as we did from CM07 to 2012, because the VNext will not be like that. Okay, so
let's do number 10.
Number 10. And number 10 is
football.
That's correct. So number 10 is the deployment verification, or
stay in job.
Stay in
or
job.
Keep the job.
Keep the job, absolutely, yeah. So
demo time, is it?
Demo time, yeah.
All right.
Let's jump straight into demo time.
Let me see if I can steal back my screen from this fabulous scaler we have here between us, making sure we're not too close. All right. Demo it is. What Ken talked about is that in ConfigMgr, both VNext and in R2SP1, when you take, for example, a sequence, a task sequence in this case to deploy Windows 10, and you kick off and start the deployment with it, you get an immediate warning here when you start to select a collection that, all right, this Windows 10 image has the potential to be a high-risk deployment. Therefore, it will be blah, 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 etc. But the deal is, now, ConfigMgr will limit. You won't even see the old systems collections that you used to have in the past. And you can also hide collections that has a member count greater than the site's minimum configuration, which in this case is the default 100, but I will show you how to change that later on. But this is where I have additional collections that will be visible here if they didn't have any members above that number. So if I select one of my collections, I can continue, etc. So this is a good warning, but the configuration is actually done on the site level. So if I go here, right-click properties on my primary site, this is where you see a new tab, deployment verification, and this is where you guys can set the limit for, all right, what is a critical collection for you guys? Is it a collection with 100 members, or how many is it? And you can also see down here, collection with site system servers. The default behavior is actually to block the deployment. But if you really want to, dangerous, you can say, all right, fine, allow me to deploy sequences to your sites. That's a bad idea, right? Let's keep the default
career-moving idea.
Yeah, it could be a career-limiting move. And I see something I don't like here. Activate Windows. We need to activate Windows. Otherwise, I will be uncomfortable for the entire night. So let me start a KMS server as you have in your lab environment, right? And then I can go back to my site server and I can fix this by open up a green command prompt. As admin command prompts are green, as they are, and configure them to use that KMS server for now. And try to spell it right. And verify I can connect with it, and just activate this one. And now I feel a lot better. And what else happened in June? I remember you went back to the US for quite some time.
Yeah, I did. So I just picked up the new car, parked the car, and I went over to the United States.
For like 4 or 5 weeks?
I think it was 6 weeks.
You and Marcus, right?
Yeah, me, Marcus, and my son Simon. First we built a data center in Tahoma, and that was kind of cool because we're from Sweden, right? But still, people from the United States hire us to fly over and build data center, and the reason is that they hire us because we were cheap, and it was like, really? I know what we charge and we're not cheap. But they did a calculation on the fact that it only takes us 2 weeks to build the entire data center, and then it's actually in production. And we managed to to make everything, working. So since I know a little bit about deployment and hydration, so we automate everything in like 3 days, and then we spend the rest of the days, explaining things like that. So when we left, which was on Friday, Marcus was heading home, and I was going to the next customer to build another data center.
You actually did 3 of them, right?
Yeah, we didn't hear from the customer, and Marcus was like, "Did you hear from the customer?" "No, I didn't hear." "Are they mad? Do you think we did something wrong?" I said, "I'm not sure." "Send an email and just ask them." And the reason why we didn't hear from them is because when we left on Friday, Saturday morning, they started migrating everything from the old stuff to the new stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And about 75% was migrated in, just a couple of weeks. It was like, and it still works. Yep. No issues.
Okay.
Nope. So that was kind of cool. Then I did the next data center in the Seattle area. Well, I can't mention the customer. Doesn't matter. Spent a week building a storage solution, and then I left to the next location. And that was not a data center, that was a client deployment. That was in California, I think it was.
Beverly Hills?
Yes, no, exactly. It was in Beverly Hills. So I spent
That's not exactly California.
not exactly California, but it was in Beverly Hills. And during this time, I had a great weather, warm, sunny, and it's like, kind of perfect, right? So when I'm calling my wife back home, it's like, "No, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining." It's like, I had the greatest summer ever. I've been working, playing with computers, sunny. I had a rental car, like a cab and things like that. When I'm on the way to the airport with the customer in Beverly Hills, it starts raining. And someone told me, it never rains in Beverly Hills. And when it started, I left back to Sweden, and when I touched down, it's sunny.
That's pretty cool.
So that was pretty cool. So that was cool. We also had some interesting breakfast. I think we have a picture of it.
Oh yeah, your son was blown away.
Yes, he liked the breakfast, and he still talks about the breakfast,
Yeah.
and he still wants to have that kind of breakfast.
Well, what's the name of the place? Very American.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
International House of Pancakes. They do also have pancakes, but
A lot of other stuff too.
they
yeah.
do have a lot of other stuff. Really interesting breakfast. Yes. And then we did what? We did...
I was actually at a local event in Sweden in June where I bumped into your son.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
We were... because I was in Denmark and doing some kind of community thing for the Assistance Center user group in Denmark.
Yeah.
And on the way back home, we drive by you.
Yeah, you drove by Jönköping, which is where DreamHack is, and I was
Yes.
doing some volunteer work for the weekend, 4 days, and you just stopped by and say hi.
Yes, and this hurts, right? Because I asked Oliver, which is my other son, if he's fine if we just bump in and check out.
Say hi.
Yeah, and it turns out that he's ranking all my friends on a list.
Okay.
Yes, and you're number 1.
Awesome.
Yes, and I think Marcus Lasfolk is number 2, and Jürgen is number 3. So then I asked him, so where do I fit in on your list? I'm number 5.
Fantastic, and you're his
Yes,
father.
it's so fun to be. I'm number 5. I'm not even on the top 3. Anyway, we do have pictures from that, and that was the day before the opening, right?
Oh yeah.
I think it was there.
Yeah, here's the picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of cool.
Then I remember you did a second Wednesday event, the user group meeting thing in Stockholm.
We did, and that was, I think, the content was Windows Server and Data Center, and to do that, we did need to have some demo equipment.
So you got some.
Yeah, like
From HP, right?
We used the microservers.
Yeah.
The reason why we use the microservers for those things are because they are also WIFE approved. silent, small, look weird, and you can also change the front on them to have different colors. Actually, it's in a pink one. I don't have that. Mine now is silver, but you can have pink and blue and red. The thing is that they behave like a real server, meaning out-of-band management. They support IPMI. They have a real KVM switch, things like that, and proper ILO. So you can really treat it as a server. And since they are very silent, you can have them at home or in lab. We use them for the Geek Week labs as well. So we did that. We also did Best of Ignite, like a one-day event that we were doing here in Sweden.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We actually have some videos from that event.
Yeah.
So,
July.
after June, yes.
That's month number 7, as far as I know. And I had the best room in a hotel ever.
Very, very homely, or very felt like home.
Yes, because the room number was 127. And there's nothing more homish than 127.
You need to be geek to understand, but we figured that most of you watching this are geeks, so...
Yeah, it's not like my mother's going to watch this.
You never know.
You never know, it's true. Yeah. So I got that, which is kind of nice.
There was a new release of ConfigMgr, vNext, the previous, second one.
Yes.
And the interesting part is that's the first time we started to see these, step-up cadence that Microsoft has, where they constantly releasing new versions all the time. And that's something that will continue for a while.
It will, and that's why people maybe need to start focusing on other things instead of focusing on,
the 5-year big bang migration.
It's all about making the new version being deployed over and over again.
Constantly staying somewhat up to date rather than just being on an old version for a very long time and then you switch. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang, you've seen it. Yeah.
I love the series.
Yeah, so I love it too. And we used to think about OS deployment and infrastructure management like the Big Bang Theory. We run one version, and then every 25 million years we have a Big Bang and we change everything. I don't want to work in help desk that day. Trust me, I'm going to take a sick day and just
vacation.
Yeah, they're going to be on vacation.
Fiji.
Yeah, so long distance, no phone. We need to start thinking, and I know we start talking to customers and trainings that they need to have this rolling idea, and we still have a struggle trying to explain that for people.
So what else happened in July? There was a new version of something, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It wasn't Notepad, but it was Windows 10.
Yeah, the build 10.240.
Yes.
Which was basically a release for consumers. I mean, that's where they all started. Every single consumer started to upgrade from whatever they were having, Windows 7, Windows 8, up to Windows 10. And from that time until now, well over 100 million have upgraded. In-place upgrade, something I never thought would work, but it does.
It does. It was amazing. I did an upgrade on my own computers. I have approximately 10 of them.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. And in the middle of this upgrade, I have a power outage. And I was like, oh, darn. And the amazing thing happens.
The rollback actually worked?
Yes, all of them roll back. And then I just upgraded them again. It took a while because, the rollback took a while. But it was anything between 35 minutes up to 4.5 hours. The 4.5 hour, that was my HP Z1 workstation that has been running every Windows version and some others as well. But it didn't work. My dad did an upgrade. My mom did an upgrade. My ex-wife called me and said, "Is it safe to upgrade to Windows 10?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I was upset because I remember my dad upgraded without even telling me.
Oh, that's rude.
That was rude, but he did, and he's 72 years old.
The fun thing with in-place upgrade is that it's actually a really good scenario for proof of concept, because you have the ability to roll back.
If it breaks, yeah.
Yes, so
or if you're unhappy, you can roll back too.
Within 30 days, you can roll back to the previous version without losing any documents or settings or applications or anything like that, which is very convenient. So even if the customer that I work with are planning to do a proper deployment, meaning wipe and load, because they want to do other things as well. Even if they plan to do that, I make sure that we do have the in-place upgrade scenario available, because we do that as a proof of concept.
Works.
Works perfectly fine.
So that was July then?
That was July. August. Still summer, still warm.
Still Windows 10.
Still Windows 10. And one of the biggest, we had two issues at this time. One of the issues with Windows 10 is that we didn't have the deployment tools.
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Which means that we could play with it, we can try, we can evaluate, we can do all that stuff, but we couldn't do mass deployment of it. And the other one was that even if we did have the tools, Windows as a service, if you have 5 seconds to explain that, please go ahead.
It takes more than 5 seconds, but what Microsoft did back then, they actually recorded Michael and Simon, they recorded on MVA 4 different sessions that explained how Windows as a service works. And here's the link, here is the where you can find it, but this is a good start to understand what Windows as a service is. The shorthand version, of course, is that it's basically you're constantly getting updates, and you need to keep on upgrading Windows and updating Windows to stay current, to get security updates and things like that.
But a lot of customers then say, we don't want to do that, we want to do the long-term servicing branch, the LTSB.
Which is where you whack them on the side of the head and say no.
Unless you have something called a Michigan critical system. So let's define a Michigan critical system.
Example, you run a small nuclear plant back home. You are running a small hospital at home with an emergency, heart rate machines, whatever. Really critical stuff. But for normal users, for normal workers, you use the CBV version or the CB version, the normal versions of Windows 10 Enterprise, of course.
Don't do the LTSB version unless you really know what you're getting into. Yeah. So that happened. We also got the new version of MDOP, which is a supporting tool.
MDOP 2015, yes, with Dart and all the other cool stuff.
And we also got
the deployment solution.
Yes, we got the light touch solution at least. So now we can create light touch, we can create reference images, and we can use light touch to deploy it.
So they released it, and then some people screamed for the top of the lungs saying this was the worst release ever, and they draw it back, or withdraw it, put it back.
So then we said, okay, so now you're going to fix these issues, and then we're going to get MDT 2013 Update 2. No, we're going to get MDT 2013 Update 1.
4 weeks later.
Re-released.
Yeah.
So there's 2 versions of it. The first one is gone.
Yeah,
yes.
the 8290 build.
Yeah, that's gone.
And then the working build was 8298.
Yeah, and now we actually have a new version of it.
Yeah, MDT Update 2 was released in just before Christmas.
Yes.
December 22nd, 21st.
Really nice Christmas gift.
That was a nice Christmas gift.
Yes.
So, but that's the version you should be using right now, by the way.
Yep.
So that was August.
That was August.
Then we have the month of September, when we finally got that working Update 1 version of MDT that we were talking about, the 8298 build.
Yeah.
Which was nice, and we have been using it, well, up to this point, just before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And we did an event in Norway, the Modern Workplace Summit.
Yes. On the airport.
Well, close to the airport.
Well, close to the airport. A hotel on the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we actually have some images from it right here. Then we went back into the studio one more time.
Yes.
And again, it was the DreamHack studio in Stockholm, but we had some remote people.
We did.
Through satellite link.
Yes.
We had Aaron and Niehaus joining us live from Seattle, which was very cool. And we happen to have some clips from that recording too. We're back in the studio having an awesome time.
Yes, we are back.
And we are very excited today to have joining us directly from Seattle, represented here in the studio by a Surface Pro 3 device. We have Mr. Mikael Niehaus, and without further ado, I will leave the floor to you, Mikael.
Sounds good. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is. I know it's morning here. Hopefully you can see behind me that it is actually nice outside, reasonably, for Seattle. But ignoring the weather, let's talk about why I'm presenting. I want to talk about staying current with Windows. So that's the goal. We want to give you an overview of what it means with this new Windows as a Service idea and just give you an overview of what the options are there. So by the end of the 50 minutes or so that I'm talking about this, the hope is that when you look at terms like the ones that I've got on the screen, that you are aware of what these actually mean. So we're not going to define them quite yet. I'm just going to mention that by the time we're done, you should probably understand what current branch is, what current branch for business is, what the long-term servicing branch is and what it would mean if you deploy it, and also the difference between upgrade versus update, because we're trying to be very specific on the use of those terms to describe new features versus just the normal monthly updates for bug fixes and other things like that. It's good to provide some background, though, how we got into this situation, that we have gotten a lot of feedback from customers about the deployment process for Windows and their desire for getting new capabilities sooner. The challenge is that it's kind of a set of trade-offs, that on one hand, customers want to do simpler deployments, no more big deployments, but on the other hand, they also don't want change. So we know that there are certainly some conflicting options here, so we need to do what we can to take all of those into account. It's not going to be a 100% perfect scenario because of these conflicts, but we can at least hopefully provide enough options to give you some choices as far as what you can implement for your own organization.
And we are back from the break.
Yes, we are.
Yes. The next session up is a fellow friend from all the way from Seattle, Aaron. He is joining us to give us a little bit about what's coming next, the ConfigMgr MDT roadmap, and also demonstrate some of the in-place upgrade capabilities inside ConfigMgr. So Aaron, thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Great. Thanks, Johan. Thanks, Michael. Hi, my name is Aaron Chikowski. I'm a senior program manager on the enterprise client management team with Microsoft, which is basically the product team that works on System Center Configuration Manager and Microsoft Intune and Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, as well as a bunch of other things. Today, like Johan said, I'm going to talk, first I'm going to start and talk a little bit about some deployment methodologies for Windows 10, a little bit about imaging. Yes, imaging is still relevant. Then we'll talk about upgrade, and I'll show you some insights with the task sequence and configuration manager and some options that you can use there. And then, as Johan noted too, I will go in at the end and talk a little bit about roadmap. Not a ton I can share at this point, but I'll provide what I can. So my slides will catch up. Okay, so deployment methodologies. There's really 4 primary deployment methodologies now with Windows 10. Imaging is still there, right? This is where you get all the goodness, bare metal, wipe and load, refresh, replace, all that good stuff. And this is, as it always has been, this is where you want to do some major changes, right? You want to start anew, or if you still got these older clients out there on XP or Vista, the upgrade is only from Windows 7 and above. So if you have those older clients and you need to get off them, then imaging is still the way to go. XP is, it's no longer a supported client. And it's not a supported OS, but we have done some testing to make sure that you can at least do an OS deployment to an XP client so that we can help folks get off of XP and onto a supported operating system. Upgrade, hopefully you've heard a lot about this and we'll continue to hear a lot more about this. This is where we can swap out the OS, keep all the apps, all the data and the settings. Like I said, it's only Windows 7 and above. So it only works on those platforms to upgrade. And the great thing here is it keeps the overall configuration of the system, is just swapping out the OS. One of the great analogies that I heard from one of my peers in the Windows team is you think about the system as an egg, as a fried egg. All of the white area, that's all the apps and the data and the settings, and the yolk is the OS. So really all you're doing is you're changing out the yolk. Yummy.
I do remember that. It was the first time I actually went into that studio. It's a big-ass studio, and it's really cool.
It is cool.
October it is. It's getting darker.
Colder. Rainier.
Yes, and more. But we did Tech Days in Sweden.
Yeah, and we had a session named The Force Awakens, which was very cool. Think about,
I remember that session, and the funny thing with that session is that we were asked just a couple of days before that, and they said, we have a slot available. It's not a big room, it's a small room. Would you like to have something to do on that session? And we said, yeah, we can do that. It turns out that we filled the room and then some. And
we have people standing all over. I have some photos from it, but you can see people standing all against the walls just to get a glimpse. That was pretty fantastic.
It was, and we also heard that people were trying to get into the room and they couldn't.
The guards outside said, no, can't have more.
No. It was a session about Windows 10 as a client together with Windows. At that time, it was Windows Server 2016. Technical Preview 2.
Yep.
And we did some funny things there. Immediately after that, the Technical Preview 3 was released, and that was a major
upgrade. Yeah.
Yes, it was. We did that.
The map toolkit was released.
Yes.
9.3.
Yes, please, if you want to do infrastructure changes, map 9.3 is really cool. Check it out. I think we have a link somewhere around here. Or
we can find a link, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you do a blog post on that? Something else happened. Software Center in Configuration Manager vNext.
Oh yeah, they combined it. Yeah, the applications and packages that you deployed, on a per user basis, also showed up in the software catalog, which was very nice. I actually have screenshots right here on how it looks when you have two apps side by side, one coming from the deploying to per user and the other one is for a computer.
Yeah, this is really cool.
It is nice.
Nice.
Unless you want to do approvals.
Well,
it's
yeah.
not so nice anymore, but still, it's nice. Then we are into November. And it was a great month for people running ConfigMgr because ConfigMgr, CU2 for ConfigMgr 2012 R2 SB1 was released. You can see even BB8 is happy about that.
Yes.
And that was the first time they actually managed to get in all critical hotfixes for Windows 10 deployment into a single release without breaking anything new, which was amazing. So from that release, you can actually do driver injection, deployments, and everything just works.
They also released a new version of the ADK.
Yes.
And we did have an issue in the previous version of the ADK. The issue was that when you were creating boot images, it sometimes failed.
Yeah. So they fixed that, but at the same time they kind of broke the computer refresh scenario And in fact, every scenario that, stages WinP on the hard drive, which could be any scenario really.
And I do remember your tweets, because the first tweet and the timestamp is, a certain time, and it says
happiness,
Happiness. Yes, they fixed the ADK issue at creating boot images, and I think it took less than a minute before the next tweet is bumping up. They broke the following scenarios in the new ADK. So, we think that sum of issues is a constant factor. So if you fix something, they have like a meeting, and you say, well, fix these following issues. We need to break something. Anyone who want to take a vote on what we should break? I'm not sure they have that, but sometimes it feels that way.
So that they actually issued a warning pretty quickly, do not use this in production.
Yes.
It works for light touch, it does, but it doesn't work for ConfigMgr.
So currently we use 586 for light touch scenarios for reference images, but we use the old 10.240 build of the ADK. It's going to be fixed.
And if you try to search for it, it's more or less impossible to find. So you actually need to go into the blog post that Aaron posted, click that link, and that will give you the right version.
Yeah, because it's the hard-coded link, so you can still download the old one. They also did the technical preview 4 of Windows Server 2016.
They did, but it happened just after MMS in Minneapolis too.
I know.
So we were at MMS when they released it.
I know.
So that was a bad timing, or
it was bad because I had a bunch of server sessions. One of the cool things about TP4 is that it gives you the same features as the 15.11 version of Windows 10, meaning you can do nested Hyper-Vs.
Yeah, so you can do Hyper-V and Hyper-V.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Besides that, you can also do the cool thing about that is that you can do a nested Hyper-V and Hyper-V. That means you can run a Windows 10 client machine using credential guard, a virtual secure mode, and BitLocker with TPM in a virtual machine, because it does require you to run a hypervisor inside the hypervisor, so you can run the credential guard in the hypervisor inside the hypervisor, and that actually works.
So you can test cluster, you can do all these magic stuff.
Yeah, you can
do
a lot of things. So that's kind of cool.
I remember we went to the MVP Summit in Seattle, and as usual, we went down to the Microsoft store in Bellevue. You have to go see that at least a few times every year.
Yes.
And you ended up buying something, I remember, a small device that thick.
It's also wife approved.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. It's very thin. It's a Surface Pro 4. I like it. It has the Windows Hello thing.
But tell me, I remember you showed me Device Manager after buying it, and even when you upgraded to the latest firmware and all the drivers, there was still a bunch of exclamation marks.
Yes, it was.
Can you just?
Okay, so this is so stupid. I bought it in the United States and without the keyboard, because I want to have a Swedish keyboard layout, so I ordered a Swedish keyboard. But it took a while before it actually arrived. And meanwhile, I was using my keyboard from my Surface Pro 3.
Yeah.
So Surface Pro 4, Surface Pro 3 keyboard. And when you have that combination, well, the computer works, just that you can't do any firmware upgrades. When I received the Surface Pro 4, I ripped off the keyboard, put up the 4. I still had issues with yellow exclamation mark in Device Manager. With the 4 keyboard, I did a reboot, and firmware worked.
I think this first time in history, we actually, by changing keyboard on device, you get firmware to work.
Don't mix keyboards. Doesn't, it prevents firmware upgrade. I haven't found any KB articles of that. Just reading about it.
I think you're special. That's why.
Yeah, something weird. Anyway, that's the story about a Surface Pro 4. And the reason why I was allowed to buy it is because my wife gets the Surface Pro 3.
Very nice. And December was a fantastic month. That was a movie release.
It was.
I've been waiting for a long, long time. This friend was in it.
Yes, the BB-8. They all have unique names. This is a BB-8. That's the model, right? Yeah. But this one is actually BB-F5F8.
Like a serial number?
Yeah, because that's the name it shows up on as a Bluetooth device.
That's pretty cool.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah. It was bigger than the movie though.
Slightly. Yeah, I would like to have one of those. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see the movie.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to have a BB-8, there's something wrong with you. Everybody wants to have one. MDT 2013 Update 2 was released. We did some testing on it before it was released, and it works. Yeah. And they fixed a lot of things. One of the things that I was very happy they fixed is you don't need to log on as an administrator after you've done an in-place upgrade task sequence. But there's a bunch of other bug fixes.
Just mainly a bug fix release, but it turns out that Update 2 was both a blessing and a curse, I should say. It fixed most stuff, but we have been spending about 4 months writing a book on Update 1. And then they released Update 2 just before Christmas, about a week before our release.
Yeah.
So we spent Christmas and the days between Christmas and New Year's Eve to
because some of us doesn't really think that just search and replace Update 1 to Update 2 is good enough. We also actually need to test things.
We had to test it, so we need to hire a tester once again to get through all the scenarios, and we did it ourselves as well. And we even did that on your birthday.
Yeah, that's how you celebrate a birthday.
Yeah, December 27. That's where.
Yeah, happy birthday. Here's your seat and here's my seat. Let's begin. So we did finish Deployment Fundamentals Volume 6.
So, and here it is.
But we also did something else. We started the next book.
As you do.
Yes. When you're done with one, you start with another. It's not like you have a break in between. You just continue working with the next one. Yeah. So that's December. I think the next year, 2016, is going to be awesome because I know there's going to be a new version of Windows Server.
So it's going to be a fantastic year.
Yes, it's going to be a new version of the entire System Center suite and other things as well.
We have a few nice conferences coming up in 2016. We have System Center Universe in February.
Yes.
No, January 19, Dallas. And we have MMS in May.
Oh, we have Nick.
We have Nick in February, Norway.
Yes.
We have Ignite late in September.
Yes.
And then we have Dev Connections again.
Yes. And we also, in Sweden,
Tech Days.
We have Tech Days, and we also have the Triple.
Yeah, you guys do some events.
The TrueSec Triple. We're going to do Windows Server, we're going to do Azure, and we're going to do System Center.
I know that because I'm booked on that one.
Yeah, I know. So we have a lot of events going on, small, big, local, international events.
Should be a fun year.
And we also have some books to write.
That too, at least one. Maybe two.
Maybe two.
Or one.
Let's try two.
Let's do one first.
Yeah, one at a time. That's true.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is over and out from us. Thank you for listening or tuning in.
Have a great ending of the year and a great 2016.
Awesome.